My name is John Sherratt, and I am the President, CEO and owner of Starboard Communications. I've had the position for 21 years. Bought the radio stations in September of 2002. I grew up in, my father was in the radio business with Chum Limited, and I grew up in essentially a radio family. And I worked for Chum Radio in sales for its various radio stations across Canada, in sales out of Toronto. And then I moved and worked in the television department of Chum Television, because Chum Limited owned City TV and Much Music and a bunch of specialty channels and stuff like that. So I worked in both the radio and the TV business in sales. These radio stations were the ones I was able to buy at the time. And they were in a pretty good location. Like Belleville, Ontario is a great area. The Quinte region is wonderful. It's only an hour and a half from Toronto and a couple hours from Ottawa, and right on the 401 corridor, and it's on the water, Bay of Quinte. And yeah, it was the best of both worlds: availability and good location. I'm a sailor and grew up sailing. Not grew up, but I did a lot of sailing in my time. And starboard is a tack on a sailboat that indicates that you have the right of way. So I thought it was fitting that we'd be on the right of way when we ventured out in this exciting path. I guess the vision was to start and own my own company, which is both at times challenging and scary at the beginning, but once you do it and you get accustomed to doing it, then you get the opportunity to work with the community and lead people and make a good life in a smaller community, and that's exactly what we did. Well, each deal is probably different, but you're essentially buying ultimately assets and licenses. So the licenses are the right to own a radio station and are granted by the CRTC, the Canadian Radio and Television Communications. I got the frequency, so I got CJOJ-FM at 95.5 FM, and I got CHCQ-FM, which is at 100.1, and it's now called Cool 100, and OJ used to be called OJ. It's now called 95.5 Hits FM. Various deals will have different assets involved, like studios and equipment and buildings and structures and transmission towers. Most of them come pretty much, operational, so up and running for the most part. But you sometimes have to spend some more money down the road to fix up the infrastructure to make it a better operation, which is what we had to do here. Oh, it's changed a lot in the last 20 years. As an example, when I bought the radio stations, I don't even think we had websites in those days. Took a while to get those. So it's gone from that to not only websites, but technology has taken it a long way, for the good and for the bad. The good side is technically it's a lot easier to operate radio stations now, especially on the staff, in the sense that you don't have to have people in the building 24 hours a day doing it. You can use computers and voice tracking and stuff like that. The bad side of that with technology is that it's opened up the audio landscape to the big players like Google and streaming services, you name it. There's streams out there. I mean, we stream our radio stations online, which is great because people can use it that way. But it's when the big guys start streaming into the markets, it just fragments the audience. Well, we're a mom and pop shop because we literally are a mom and pop shop. I'm here. Martha, my wife, works in the company. You work in the company. And this is my business. I don't have radio stations anywhere else. I don't have any other businesses. This is mom and pop as it gets. And radio for the most part has amalgamated into bigger corporations now, right? There's not a lot of independent radio operators. This market's interesting because I'm an independent radio owner and operator, and my competitor, Quinte Broadcasting, is also an independent. That's unheard of in any single market in Canada, especially one in Ontario on the 401 corridor. We operate two great radio stations and a good news service, and we're committed to our employees and committed to our community. And our employees do a lot of good things for this region and have for the last 22 or more years, and continue to do it in the future. So it's a very fun business. It's a good service for communities, and I think that's the strength of radio right now, is its ability to function well and gel communities together. You have to remember that newspapers had a very tough time, and a lot of them are closing up, and so there's no local media. It's all big media, and it's either local radio stations, but they're owned by big conglomerates: Bell, Rogers, Chorus, stuff like that. So anyway, hopefully that answers that question.